Jose sat at her desk on the 9th floor of Obasui Ventures. The Lagos sun bounced off the glass windows, but her mind was far from bright. In front of her was a file. Not just any file. The Pearl River Estate project. Inside it was a photo. Sandra standing beside Mr. Lee and Chief Obasui. All smiling. All in suits. She flipped the photo over again. Same words. Negotiation team, Pearl River Estate project. But something about it refused to sit right in her chest. She stared at Sandra's smile. Sandra, her old friend in China. The girl who once cried over her mother's denied visa. Now standing in a picture. With the two men Jose had just escaped. She sent Sandra a message the night before. Still no reply. 2 blue ticks. But no words. Not even hey. Jose sighed and looked over her shoulder. The office was quiet. Most staff were downstairs for a morning briefing. She carefully tucked the file back into the drawer, locked it, and slid the key into her bra. Her heart was beating fast. She had questions. And she needed answers. But not just for herself. For every girl like her who thought soft life came with love. That afternoon, Jose walked into the staff canteen. Her food tray shook in her hands. Not because it was heavy, but because her thoughts were. She sat beside Titi, a junior HR staff. "Hey," Jose whispered. "Do you know anything about Pearl River?" Titi looked up, eyes wide. "That one. Big people project only chief and top board members touch it." "Why?" Jose shrugged. "Just saw the file by mistake." Titi lowered her voice. "The China deal. They say it's connected to major land swap and foreign investors. Me, I know fit talk too much." "Why not?" "Because people who ask too many questions end up transferring to places they didn't apply for." Jose blinked. Titi picked up her spoon. "Just be careful." That night, Jose walked home with a storm in her head. She climbed into bed without eating, her stomach tight. She pulled out her journal and wrote, "The more I climb, the more the ground shifts. Why is Sandra in that picture? Why didn't she tell me?" She stared at the wall. Her eyes were open, but her heart was remembering. Back in China. Sandra's soft voice in the hotel lobby. "You must decide. Will this break you, or build you?" And now here she was. About to break again. Or maybe she was about to build something bigger. The next morning, Jose arrived at the office early. The building was still cool with morning silence. She walked past the elevators and took the stairs to the records room. She had memorized the shelf. She pulled down 2 files labeled Foreign Collaboration 2A and 1 Tech Subcontractors 1B. Both were thick. Both smelled like dust and secrets. She flipped pages. Bank transactions. Land agreements. Letters written in Mandarin. Stamp. By Mr. Lee. Her stomach turned. This wasn't just business. Mr. Lee was funding a major part of the Pearl River deal. And Chief Obasui. His signature was on the receiving side. By 9 a.m., her phone buzzed. New message from Sandra. "Hi Jose. I saw your message. I'll explain everything. Can we talk tonight? FaceTime." Jose stared at the screen. Her hands trembled. She whispered, "Thank you, God." That night her phone rang. He picked it up. Sandra's face appeared, older, calmer. "Hi," Sandra said softly. Jose didn't smile. He just nodded. "I saw the photo," Jose said. "Ooh. Mr. Lee. Basui. What's going on?" Sandra sighed. "It's complicated." "Explain it." Sandra leaned forward. "Jose, I didn't lie to you. I just didn't tell you everything." "Start telling now." Sandra spoke. She told Jose about her mother's old connection to a Chinese investor, Mr. Lee's father. She told her how, after college, she was recruited to work on a joint development project, Pearl River Estate, a fake charity front that allowed money to move across borders under the name of youth empowerment. "And Obasui?" Jose asked. "He's the Nigerian face. Mr. Lee is the foreign power." I was the link. Jose blinked. So the job offer. Sandra nodded. You were always smart, Jose. But they also knew your story would sell well. Poor girl. Broad. Returns wiser. Powerful man gives her a job. Clean on the outside. But dirty underneath. Tears slipped from Jose's eyes. Did you know what they did to me? Sandra lowered her eyes. I didn't know the details. I just obeyed orders. Jose's voice cracked. So you let me walk into their game. Sandra looked into the camera. I'm sorry. Jose ended the call. Not with anger, but with silence. She sat in her room, her soul shaking. Everything she had believed, every second of her new start, was part of a show. A script she didn't know she was reading from. She took a deep breath, then stood. She walked to the mirror. She looked at herself. The girl who had chased soft life. The woman who survived it. And now, the woman who knew the truth. She reached for her notebook again. And wrote one line. Now I know. Now I choose. Jose didn't sleep that night. Even with her fan humming, even with the street outside quiet for once, her mind raced. She kept seeing that photo, Sandra, Chief Obasui, and Mr. Lee all standing together, smiling like business partners. And now she understood why everything had been so smooth for her. The job, the office, the salary in dollars. She was a pawn. Decorated and smiling, but still a pawn. By morning, her pillow was wet from tears and sweat. But her heart was steel. She dressed in silence, wearing a navy blue blouse and black trousers, pulled her braids into a bun, and walked out like nothing had changed. But everything had. At the office, Chief Obasui was in a good mood. He clapped her shoulder when she walked in. You're glowing, my dear. I just sent your file to our Beijing branch. You're going to do wonders. Jose smiled, tight and forced. Thank you, sir. But deep down, she was done smiling for free. At lunch, she pulled Titi aside again. You know any intern that's close to the IT guys? Titi raised an eyebrow. Why? I need access. There's a file I want to copy. Titi shook her head. Jose, you're playing with fire. I already stepped into the flame. Might as well cook the truth. Titi sighed and pointed. That's Junior. He sets up all the emails and logins. You can try him. Jose approached Junior, a short guy with too much cologne and a big crush on her. Hi, Junior, she said with a soft smile. His chest puffed. Hey, Madam Jose, the Queen of Mandarin. She laughed. I need a small favor. 10 minutes later, she had a copied USB folder named WEN_contracts and 2021 and 2024 zip. She didn't open it at work. She waited. She waited until 10:45 p.m., when Aunt Rita had slept off in front of the TV. She crept into her room, plugged the USB into her laptop, and opened the folder. There were 18 files. Scanned agreements, translation drafts, invoices. But one name showed up too many times. Jose Evelyn Edianwi. Her full name. She opened the first document. Her name was listed as a Nigerian youth ambassador, in a media presentation sent to Chinese investors. Her photo was attached. In her grand pearl uniform. She opened another file. An export-import clearance with her passport attached, used as a sample ID. Another file showed Mr. Lee's company wiring funds, marked as support for Miss Edianwi's reintegration program. Jose gasped. They had used her. Again and again. Her name was currency. Her pain was branding. She closed the laptop and sat in the dark. Her body was still. But her mind was burning. Why didn't Sandra warn me? Why did Mr. Lee let me go so quietly? Why did Chief Obasi really hire me? She wanted to scream, but she just whispered, You picked the wrong girl. The next day, she came to work late on purpose. Let them ask. Let them wonder. But no one did. Because something else had happened. When she walked in, everyone was gathered around the TV in the break room. A news anchor spoke fast in Pidgin and English. Sources say a leaked folder shows that foreign companies used Nigerian women as symbols of empowerment for laundering and offshore deals. Jose's heart slammed against her ribs. On the screen flashed a slide with a faded photo. Her photo. Name. Clear. Large. And real. The room fell silent. Everyone turned slowly to look at her. Her knees wobbled. But she stood still. Someone finally asked, "Jose, is that you?" She blinked slowly and said, "Yes." Chief Obasui called her to his office that afternoon. His face was hard. His tone was low. "I don't know what game you're playing, but this leak, it's a problem." Jose said nothing. He leaned forward. "Do you know what this costs us?" He stared back. "Do you know what this cost me?" He didn't answer. Instead he said, "Take 2 weeks off. Paid leave. Let things cool." Jose stood. "No need. I resign." He laughed. "You'll regret this." "I already do," she said and walked out. That evening, she wandered the streets of Ikeja aimlessly. No plan. No direction. Just pain. She found herself sitting on a bench near a bus park, beside a hawker selling gala and coke. She bought a bottle, sipped it, and watched the chaos. She was jobless again. Broke again. But this time not blind. This time she saw the system. And she was going to break it. Back at home, she opened her Instagram and made a video. No makeup. No wig. Just her wrapped in a scarf. She looked straight into the camera and said, "I was used. My name, my face, my story sold to people who never met me. They called it empowerment. Call it exploitation. If you're a woman reading this, know that you are not just decoration. You are not just branding. You're power. And now I'm taking mine back." She posted it. Went viral by morning. Emails started rolling in. Messages. Phone calls. Young girls asking questions. Journalists asking for interviews. An NGO offered her legal support. One woman from Ghana said, "Your video helped me leave a fake scholarship deal." Another girl from Kenya messaged, "You're not alone." And then, Sandra called. Jose picked up. No greeting. No warmth. Sandra whispered, "They're watching me." My account was frozen. My passport flagged. Jose's voice was cold. "You let them use me." "I didn't know it would go this far," Sandra whispered. Jose replied, "You thought you were building bridges. But you were carrying bricks for a prison." Sandra began to cry. But Jose didn't. Not this time. That night, Jose sat with Aunt Rita in the dark. They sipped Gary together. The fan buzzed overhead. Aunt Rita said, "You've been quiet." Jose nodded. "I'm planning something." "Business?" "No. Revenge." Jose smiled faintly. "Justice." She picked up her journal and wrote, "If the world wants a story, I'll give them truth." Jose didn't sleep the entire night. Not from fear. Not from anger. But from purpose. There was something fierce growing inside her. Something she couldn't hold back anymore. She had been used, branded, decorated and displayed like a success story, when in truth, her story was soaked in survival. She looked at her small pink notebook, the same one where she had written the name Ozer Locks months ago. Now she wrote something else. Tell it all. Show it all. Burn their lies with your truth. The next morning, Lagos was already loud by 7 a.m. Danfo horns. Generators. Megaphones shouting, "Buy your fresh bread here." But Jose's room was calm. She set up her phone on a small tripod, wore a simple cream top and her natural hair in a bun. She sat by the window where the sunlight hit her face just right. And then she pressed record. "My name is Jose. You've seen my face before. In wedding makeup, in viral photos, in soft life posts. But that wasn't the full story. I was sold. My image. My passport. Used to make others rich. I worked with a company that promised growth. But behind closed doors I was a symbol, a lie dressed in lipstick. Today I say no more. To fake empowerment. To silence. To being a pawn. If you've ever felt like you were just a face for someone else's game, you're not alone. This is my story. But it's also yours. She ended the video and uploaded it. Within 3 hours it had 89,000 views. Within 6, it had crossed 200,000. By night her DM was flooded. And among the messages, one stood out. My name is Aziza. I work with Truthwatch. Let's talk. You're not the only one. The next day, she met Aziza at a quiet cafe in Yaba. Aziza was tall, dark-skinned, in a plain t-shirt and jeans, no makeup, and eyes that looked like they had seen many lies. I've been following your story since China, Aziza said. Jose blinked. Since then? Yes. And you're not the only one who came back with truth and tears. Aziza opened her laptop and showed Jose a folder titled, Silk Sponsorship Pipeline. Inside were over 40 names, mostly African women, used in similar schemes. Some got money, some didn't. All of them were used, Aziza explained. And we believe Mr. Lee's group, One Tech, is at the center. Jose stared at the screen, stunned. Her fingers hovered over one file. It was Sandra, her full name, her ID, her assigned value, in euros. Jose felt her heart crack. Why are you showing me this? She asked. Aziza leaned forward. Because you're not just a victim. You're a witness, fighter. And now we need you to speak publicly. At our upcoming forum, we're bringing voices together. You'll be the first to open. Jose hesitated. I'm not a politician. Aziza smiled. Good. We don't want politicians. We want people who bled and still stood up. Jose looked away for a long time, then nodded. That night, she visited Ozur Locks. She hadn't stepped in for 2 weeks. The air inside was stale, the lights dim. But the mirror on the wall still held her old sticky note. Wear your crown. Speak your truth. She sat on the salon chair and whispered to herself. This is bigger than wigs. Bigger than soft life. This is war. And I'm ready. The forum was set for Saturday. Jose had never spoken to a large crowd before. Her hands trembled every time she practiced. She called Aunt Rita the night before. I'm scared, she confessed. Aunt Rita's voice came gently. Good. That means you'll speak with truth. Not pride. Jose smiled. Then cried. Then slept. Saturday arrived like thunder. The hall was full. Journalists, youth leaders, women's rights groups, ex-returnees. Jose wore a simple black dress and carried no handbag. Just her journal. When she was called to the stage, the lights were hot, but her voice was cool. She didn't read a script. She spoke from the wound. She told them about China. About the photo. About Sandra. About the silence that nearly buried her. And when she ended, she said, I came back with nothing, but now I have my voice. And that's everything. The applause was loud. But what shook her most was the silence. People holding their breath, eyes filled with tears. She was no longer a story. She was a spark. After the event, her story made headlines. Young Nigerian exposes exploitation ring linked to Asian investors. Ozur Locks founder breaks silence. I was a brand, not a person. But it wasn't fame Jose felt. It was fire. That week, Jose returned to the office of Abasui Ventures. Not as a worker, but as a witness. She gave her statement to the investigators. Her laptop. The USB. Every file. She said nothing more. She didn't need to. Her truth had already begun to spread. But truth makes enemies. And they started whispering. That. Fake stories. One night, she got a call from a strange number. A man's voice, low and smooth, said, Stop now, or your peace won't last long. Then the line cut. Jose stared at the phone. And instead of fear, she felt strength. She whispered, Come if you must. But I'm not the one who'll kneel this time. The next day, she stood outside Ozur Locks with a broom in hand. She swept the floor slowly, as children passed by laughing. She turned to lock the gate when she saw it. A black SUV parked across the street. The same make Mr. Lee once drove in China. Inside, someone watched her. Their face hidden behind tinted glass. Jose stared back, then smiled, then turned and walked inside. The black SUV didn't return the next day. But Jose's spirit was already on alert. She moved differently, more carefully. She avoided walking home late. She kept her phone close, even in the bathroom. She didn't tell Aunt Rita anything yet. Because what was she supposed to say? A car that looks like my past is watching me from across the road? Well, she would not let fear enter the house she was rebuilding. 3 days passed. Then, one morning at Ozerlocks, the door opened and a woman walked in. Jose looked up from the counter. Her smile froze. It was Sandra. In person. Sandra looked thinner, quieter, her long curly hair tied back, eyes sunken. Jose stood slowly. No hugs. No greetings. Just silence. Sandra broke it first. I know you hate me. Jose looked down. I don't hate you, she said. I just don't trust you. Sandra nodded. That's fair. She pulled out a white envelope and placed it on the counter. Jose raised an eyebrow. What's this? Proof, Sandra whispered. That I didn't betray you completely. And that Mr. Lee wasn't just playing games. That night, Jose sat in her room, the white envelope spread open on her bed. Inside were 3 things. A copy of a contract between Wen Technologies and Abasui Ventures, signed a year before Jose was hired. A printed photo of a building blueprint marked Ozer Development Phase 2, Lagos Mainland. A letter with Jose's name typed into the proposed brand ambassador section. Her breath caught in her throat. They were planning to build a company in her name. Not to honor her, but to use her. Her real name Ozer was the project title. Not a coincidence. Set up. Oolong. Jose shook as she dropped the papers. Everything was connected. Mr. Lee. Chief Abasui. Indra. Even Ozer Locks had been part of their plan. But she took it and made it hers. They tried to own her. Instead, she turned herself into a storm. The next day Jose posted again. They tried to brand me. They tried to buy my story. But I changed the locks. Trended. Again. At 2:14 p.m., she received a private message on Instagram. No name. Just a message. You think you've won. You've only just opened the door. She blocked the account. Then changed her locks. Literally. Later that night, Aunt Rita knocked on her door. You're breathing too loud, she joked. Jose smiled weakly. Are you okay? Aunt Rita asked. Jose hesitated. Then said, no. But I will be. Aunt Rita pulled her into a hug. Long warm one. I don't understand everything, she said softly. But I see your eyes. You're fighting something big. Just don't fight it alone. Jose closed her eyes. She hadn't cried in weeks. But tonight she let the tears come. Because strength doesn't always mean silence. The next morning something strange happened. A brown envelope was waiting at the door of Ozer Locks. There was no name on it. Jose opened it carefully. Inside was a single page. A plain, cold notice of summons. You are required to appear for questioning regarding falsified accusations made against licensed international partners. Failure to appear will result in further action. Legal Unit, National Economic Relations Board. Jose laughed. Loud. The kind that sounds like thunder in the rain. They wanted to scare her with paper. After all she had survived. She called Aziza from Truth Watch. Aziza listened quietly then said, they're testing you. Don't go in alone. I'll assign you a legal rep. Jose nodded. But inside, she felt something shift. This wasn't just about business anymore. It was about power. Who owned the story? Who owned the truth? Who was allowed to speak? A few days later, Jose arrived at the hearing center in Ikeja. She wore a plain white shirt. No makeup. No wig. Just her journal in one hand, and fire in her heart. Aziza met her at the gate with a female lawyer in black and gold. Ready? Aziza asked. Jose smiled. I was born ready. I just didn't know it. Inside the room were 5 officials. And at the end of the table, Chief Abasui. He looked at her like she was a mosquito buzzing in a palace. Jose didn't blink. Miss Jose, one of the officials began, you've accused several foreign investors of unethical practices. Do you have proof? She opened her journal, pulled out 2 pages, and handed them over. Right there, she said. Contract copies, images, and email trails. And your intention? The man asked. Jose looked him straight in the eyes. To end the silence that turns victims into decorations. For 2 hours she answered questions. Only, boldly. She didn't fumble. She didn't stutter. She didn't back down. When it ended, one of the panel members whispered, "She's either mad or made of iron." Aziza smiled. "She's made of both." Outside, the press waited. Jose stepped into the sunlight, blinding and sharp. A journalist asked, "Do you think this fight is worth it?" Jose replied, "Truth is always worth it. Even if it costs you your comfort. Even if it burns everything. Because when the smoke clears, only truth stands." That evening she returned to her shop. As she turned the key, her phone buzzed. It was an email. From Mr. Lee. Subject line. "One last truth." She clicked it open. "Jose, you were never meant to be part of the plan. But you became the whole story. They used me too. And now we're both on their list. Be careful. Lee." Jose exhaled slowly. She whispered, "Let them come," and entered her shop. The lights buzzed on. The mirror on the wall caught her reflection. But this time she didn't look like a pawn. She looked like the player. Jose sat at her desk in Ozerlocks with her phone in one hand and Mr. Lee's email replaying in her head. "You were never meant to be part of the plan. But you became the whole story." She closed the email. She didn't need more answers. She needed action. For weeks, Jose had been fighting in silence. Now the world was watching. Girls from Ghana, South Africa, Uganda, even Vietnam were sending her messages. "Jose, I didn't know how to speak until I heard you. They used me too. How did you survive?" Jose would always reply the same way. Because truth is louder than fear. But the truth comes with enemies. And soon she began to feel it. Small signs. Late-night footsteps near the shop. Lock calls. A stranger waiting outside Aunt Rita's house who claimed he was just asking for directions. She wasn't scared. She was awake. And she was preparing. On a cool Tuesday morning, Aziza walked into Ozerlocks with 2 women. Both dressed in black suits. Both sharp-eyed and quiet. Aziza nodded at Jose. "Security. Just in case." Jose raised an eyebrow. "Security for wigs." Aziza smiled. "No. For what your voice is stirring." 2 days later, Jose got a call from the International Women's Network conference. They had seen her videos. They wanted her to speak on their biggest panel. In South Africa. Expenses paid. Jose almost dropped her phone. Aunt Rita clapped her hands and shouted, "Jose, you traveling again." But this time it was different. This time Jose wasn't going for luxury. She was going for war. Before she left, she wrote a final message on her Instagram. "I once chased soft life and found pain. Now I walk in truth and find purpose. I'll be away for a while. But my crown stays here. Ozerlocks will remain open. My voice will remain loud. We are not done." The conference was like nothing Jose had ever seen. Lights, reporters, women from everywhere speaking, teaching, crying. And when it was Jose's turn, she didn't carry a prepared speech. She stepped onto the stage in her black jumpsuit, natural curls out, and spoke from the wound. "I came from a 2-room flat in Benin. I thought money could save me. Then I thought marriage would protect me. Then I believed silence would keep me safe. But I was wrong. The only thing that saved me was truth." The room went still. No blinking. No movement. Just hearts breaking and mending at the same time. After the panel, she was surrounded. A woman from Brazil hugged her and said, "You reminded me who I am." Another whispered, "You're fire." You don't even know. But Jose knew now. She was no longer the girl who begged her ex for 40,000 Nigerian nairas to buy Aso Ebi. She was no longer the one who bowed to silence in a strange land. She was fire, lit by pain, fed by truth. Back in Nigeria, things were shifting. Truth Watch had filed a joint legal complaint against One Technologies and their local partners. News channels were finally covering the real story. Not just returnee girl speaks out, but West African women reveal exploitation ring hidden behind luxury deals. Mr. Lee had disappeared. Sandra had gone quiet again. But Chief Abasuyi, he was on every news channel, denying everything. I have never met this young woman before, he said on TV. These are false accusations, probably funded by opposition parties. Jose laughed when she saw it, because 2 days later a video surfaced. A hotel lobby clip. Chief Abasuyi shaking hands with Mr. Lee. Jose standing behind them in a grand pearl uniform. The internet exploded. The lie had fallen apart. Truth was winning. But truth can be dangerous when it starts burning things people want to hide. So the fire came for Jose. Literally. One night at 1 a.m., Jose woke up to shouting outside. Fire! She ran outside. Ozer Locks was in flames. Smoke pouring from the windows. Neighbors gathered. Aunt Rita screamed and grabbed buckets. But it was too late. By the time they put it out, the inside was black. Melted wigs. Broken chairs. Her banner was gone. Her dream was burnt. But Jose. She stood barefoot on the street, sweat on her face, her body shaking. Not from fear, but from rage. Aziza came running, phone in hand. Jose didn't cry. She looked straight at her and said, "Let them burn the shop. I will build a school instead." 3 months later, she opened the doors to something new. The Ozer Center for Truth and Healing. Not a wig shop, but a safe space. For girls like her. Inside were mirrors not for makeup, but for seeing. There were chairs not for styling, but for storytelling. And in the center of the wall, one quote in bold letters. "Your crown is your voice. Wear it loud." When journalists asked her, "What made you keep going?" she said, "Because I finally understood. Soft life is not silk sheets and scented candles. Soft life is being able to sleep at night without pretending. It is freedom. And I paid for mine. Now I help others find theirs." That night, Jose sat under the stars behind the center. Children's laughter echoed from the street. A breeze lifted her scarf. Aunt Rita brought her a cold drink and sat beside her. "You've become someone," she said softly. Jose smiled. "No, Auntie. I've just finally come home to myself." And they sat together. Quiet. Warm. Strong. If you have not subscribed to my channel, you might not hear my voice again. But if you are, then you are growing every day. Check my page for more interesting stories. Thanks for watching.